World War II aircraft didn't just fight battles. They decided the fate of entire nations, and some of these machines were so deadly, so advanced, that the world had never seen anything like them. Imagine sitting in a cockpit at 30,000 feet, knowing that the machine wrapped around you was the only thing standing between you and oblivion. Some of these planes were built in months, yet they flew for decades in the history books. Today, we're counting down the 10 most iconic World War II aircraft that forever changed the course of military history. Stay locked in, because number 1 will completely change the way you think about air power. Between 1939 and 1945, the world was consumed by the deadliest conflict in human history, and the skies above every battlefield became a killing ground. WWII aircraft history was written in fuel, fire, and sacrifice, and the machines that defined it were extraordinary by any measure. From the Pacific to the English Channel, pilots on every side pushed these machines and themselves far beyond their limits. This is the story of 10 planes that defined an era and built the foundation of every fighter jet flying today. Coming in at number 10, the Focke-Wulf Fw, Germany's answer to every Allied fighter that dared enter its airspace. When it appeared over the English Channel in 1941, Allied pilots were genuinely shocked by what they were facing. The Fw-190 was faster, more maneuverable at low altitude, and hit harder than anything the RAF had at the time. It carried 4 20mm cannons and 2 machine guns, and it used every single one of them with devastating effect. By the end of the war, the Fw-190 had claimed over 5,000 Allied aircraft, a kill count that commands respect even today. Number 9 belongs to the heavy hitters, the Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress, the backbone of the American bombing campaign over Nazi Germany. This plane carried 13 machine guns and could absorb punishment that would have destroyed any other aircraft. Crews called it the Flying Fortress for a reason. It could take a beating and still bring its men home. WW-II bombers like the B-17 dropped more ordnance over Europe than any other aircraft in American service. Over 12,700 B-17s were built, and they flew over 250,000 combat missions across the European theater. Number 8 takes us to the Pacific, and to one of the most feared World War II fighter planes in the entire war, the Mitsubishi A6M Zero. In the early years of the Pacific War, the Zero was untouchable, outmaneuvering anything the Allies could put in the air. It was incredibly light, had exceptional range, and its pilots were among the most highly trained aviators of the war. But the Zero had a fatal flaw. It sacrificed armor and pilot protection for performance, making it lethal to fly against better trained opponents. Still, the Zero changed the entire way Allied commanders thought about air combat over the Pacific. Number 7 is a machine that history often overlooks, but without it, Britain may not have survived. The Hawker Hurricane. During the Battle of Britain, the Hurricane shot down more German aircraft than any other Allied fighter, even more than the famous Spitfire. Rugged, dependable, and easy to repair in the field. The Hurricane was the workhorse that kept the RAF in the fight. Over 14,000 Hurricanes were built, and they served on every front from North Africa to the frozen Soviet skies. Number 6 is one of the most beautiful aircraft ever built, and one of the most lethal, the North American P-51 Mustang. When the P-51 Mustang arrived in Europe with long-range drop tanks, it solved a problem that had cost thousands of American lives. For the first time, heavy bombers had a fighter escort that could fly all the way to Berlin and fight its way back out. The Mustang's Rolls-Royce Merlin engine gave it a top speed of nearly 440 miles per hour, making it one of the fastest World War II fighter planes of the entire war. With 15 aerial kills required to become an ace, the Mustang produced more American aces than any other aircraft in the European theater. We're at the midpoint now, and number 5 is arguably the most iconic World War II aircraft ever built, the Supermarine Spitfire. The Spitfire's elliptical wing design was revolutionary, giving it an aerodynamic efficiency that its enemies could never fully replicate. During the Battle of Britain, Spitfire pilots flew multiple sorties per day, sometimes scrambling within minutes of landing. It evolved through over 24 variants across the war, each version pushing the limits of what piston engine technology could achieve. No other Allied fighter inspired as much national pride. The Spitfire became a symbol of British defiance and survival. Number 4 operated mostly in darkness, and its crews faced odds that are almost impossible to comprehend. Meet the Avro Lancaster. The Lancaster flew more than 156,000 sorties over Nazi Germany and occupied Europe, often in conditions that defied survival. Its bomb bay was the largest of any Allied bomber, capable of carrying the 10-ton Grand Slam bomb that could crack reinforced concrete bunkers. The crew of 7 men flew missions that lasted up to 10 hours, in an unpressurized aircraft at temperatures far below zero. Of the 125,000 RAF Bomber Command aircrew who served, over 55,000 were killed, a casualty rate higher than almost any other Allied branch. Coming in at number 3 is a machine built like a tank with wings, the Republic P-47 Thunderbolt. At over 17,000 pounds loaded weight, the Thunderbolt was the heaviest single-engine fighter of World War II. Its radial engine could absorb extraordinary battle damage and keep running. Pilots walked away from hits that should have been fatal. The Thunderbolt also excelled as a ground attack aircraft, carrying rockets, bombs, and napalm against German armor and supply lines. Over 15,000 Thunderbolts were built, making it the most produced American fighter aircraft of the entire war. Number 2 is the most produced fighter aircraft in the entire history of World War II aircraft, the Messerschmitt BF 109. Over 33,000 BF 109s were built across multiple variants, and it flew on every front where Germany fought from Spain to the Soviet Union. Its deadly engine-mounted cannon fired through the propeller hub, giving it a precision lethality that other fighters struggled to match. The top-scoring aces of all time flew the BF 109. Erich Hartmann alone claimed 352 aerial victories, a record that has never been broken. The BF 109 fought the Spitfire over Britain, the P-51 over Germany, and the Yak 3 over Russia. And it was dangerous on every front. And now, number 1. The aircraft that changed everything about how air power operates in wartime. The Lockheed P-38 Lightning. The P-38 was the only American fighter aircraft in continuous production throughout the entire duration of World War II. Its twin-engine configuration gave it a combat range of over 1,000 miles, reaching targets no single-engine fighter could touch. It was a Lockheed P-38 Lightning that hunted down and ambushed Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, the architect of the Pearl Harbor attack, in 1943. The P-38's nose-mounted armament, 450 caliber machine guns and a 20mm cannon, fired in a tight concentrated cluster that tore through anything in its path. Japanese pilots called it the Fork-tailed Devil, and feared it more than any other American aircraft in the Pacific Theater. Top ace Richard Bong scored his record-breaking 40 aerial victories entirely in the P-38 Lightning, a record that still stands as the highest for any American pilot. Over 10,000 P-38s were built, and they served in every theater of the war from Alaska to the Mediterranean. Every aircraft on this list is extraordinary, but what makes World War II aircraft history so compelling is that these weren't science fiction. Real men built and flew them. The engineers who designed them were working under the pressure of a world war, and they still produce machines that remain breathtaking to this day. The pilots who flew these machines were barely in their 20s, and they carried the weight of the world on their young shoulders. Between them, the aircraft on this list flew millions of combat hours and changed the outcome of a war that shaped the entire modern world. WW2 aircraft didn't just win battles. They built the tactical and technological framework that every military air force on Earth still operates from today. So here's my question for you. Which aircraft on this list do you think was the most important to the Allied victory? And why? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one, and the best ones might just make it into our next video. And if you want more deep dives into the machines that built military history, hit that subscribe button, because at ForceVault, we're just getting started.